Emma Morrison never imagined that one small click, one innocent like, could change the course of her life forever. At 32, Emma wasn't the kind of woman who chased adventure or danger. She lived a simple life in the quiet suburbs of São Paulo, Brazil, teaching English at a local high school, spending weekends with her best friend Claire, and reading novels late into the night with a cup of chamomile tea by her side. She had a rhythm. Predictable. Peaceful. Safe. But underneath that calm routine was something else, loneliness. After 2 painful relationships that left her emotionally drained and financially unstable, Emma had stopped believing in love. Maybe it's just not for me, she used to tell Claire, half joking, half defeated. Then one ordinary Tuesday night, while scrolling through Instagram, a photo caught her eye, a breathtaking view of the Canadian Rockies at sunset. A sky painted orange and gold, snow-covered peaks rising into the clouds. She clicked like. Just a tap. Just a second. But that second would ignite the most dangerous chapter of her life. The next morning, her phone buzzed. A new notification. Connor Mloud liked your photo. She frowned, confused. She didn't know any Connor. But curiosity made her tap his profile. His page was neat, calm, and oddly comforting. Pictures of hiking trips in British Columbia, a smiling golden retriever named Benson, and selfies of a man who looked both rugged and gentle. Brown hair just starting to gray at the temples, sharp blue eyes, and that kind of smile that feels safe. His bio read. Civil engineer. Vancouver. Lover of mountains, good books, and honest hearts. It sounded sincere. Not like the usual half-baked profiles filled with filters and gym shots. Minutes later, a message appeared. Hi Emma, I saw that you liked one of my photos. I didn't expect someone from Brazil to appreciate Canadian winters. She smiled. There was something charming about how normal he sounded, polite, attentive, curious. She replied. And just like that, a conversation began. Over the next few days, messages turned into paragraphs. Paragraphs into late-night chats. Connor wasn't like other men she'd met online. He read her profile carefully. He asked thoughtful questions. He remembered details. When she mentioned her favorite author, Margaret Atwood, he responded instantly. If you love Atwood, you need to read Alice Munro. I'll send you one of her short story collections, but only if you promise to tell me what you think. It was small, but it melted her. Finally, someone who listened. He sent pictures of his dog running in the snow, of his coffee mug steaming by a frosted window. Winter mornings are better with company, he said. He told her he'd been single for years, too busy with work to date, but lately he'd been feeling the same emptiness, like something important was missing. Emma started to feel that warmth again. The kind she hadn't felt in a long time. And every time she opened her phone, his name was there. Waiting. Claire, her best friend, noticed the change. You've been smiling at your phone a lot lately, she teased. It's no one, Emma lied, laughing. But her eyes gave her away. Claire leaned in. Be careful, Em. You know how these online things go. I know. But this feels different, Emma replied. He's kind, stable, real. Claire shrugged. Just promise me you'll go slow this time. Emma nodded. But her heart was already racing ahead. Within 2 weeks, their chats became nightly rituals. Connor's voice was soft and deliberate. He had that calm Canadian accent that made every word sound honest. When she told him she'd never seen snow before, he sent her a video of himself walking a mountain trail dusted in white. When you visit, he said, smiling into the camera, I'll take you here. You'll see what silence really feels like. His words painted pictures in her mind, of fresh air, quiet forests, maybe even a future. But something about that forest behind him. The tall, shadowy trees. The way the wind howled through them. It looked peaceful, yes, but also isolated. Emma didn't notice it then. But that very landscape, the one that first connected them, would soon become the center of everything that went wrong. By the third week, Connor sent her a message that made her heart skip. "I've never met anyone like you, Emma. You make me want to believe again." She read it over and over, unsure how to respond. Was she falling in love? Was this real? At night, she'd close her eyes and picture him, standing in the snow, smiling at her through the screen, waiting for her to join him in that distant land of mountains and silence. But sometimes, when their calls ended, she caught herself wondering. Why did he never video chat from anywhere else? Why were there no friends in his photos, no coworkers, no family? And why did every picture have the same mountain in the background, like a shadow that never left him? She brushed the thought away. Maybe she was overthinking. Maybe she was just scared of being happy again. As days turned into weeks, Emma's world started to revolve around those calls. Connor in the morning, Connor at night. Her phone became her lifeline, her window into another life she hadn't realized she wanted. Claire's voice echoed in her head, "Go slow." But how do you go slow when your heart is already running? They say danger doesn't always come crashing through the door. Sometimes, it knocks gently, with a smile. Sometimes, it starts with something as simple as a like. Have you ever trusted someone online a little too quickly? Tell me in the comments below, I read every one. Because for Emma Morrison, that one like was the first step toward the mountains. And the cruelty waiting for her there. Before we go further, help this little growing channel by dropping your DNA on the subscribe button, give this video a like and share it so other people could see it. Thanks so much as you do this. Emma's phone lit up with a soft ping that night, a new message from Connor. Just finished my hike. The air was so crisp today. You'd have loved it. Attached was a photo, a winding trail through the Vancouver mountains, pine trees heavy with snow, the late afternoon light melting gold behind him. He looked effortlessly real, no filters, no posing, just the kind of man who made the world seem calmer. For Emma, days in Sao Paulo suddenly felt different. She'd wake up, check her messages before brushing her teeth, and fall asleep listening to Connor's voice notes, that deep, careful tone that made every word sound like a promise. He spoke about books, about the peace he found in nature, and sometimes, about how lonely it was to come home to an empty apartment. I think people underestimate connection, he said once. You can feel close to someone even from across the world, if it's real. Those words stuck with her. Maybe this was real. Maybe this was what love finally looked like. Over the next few weeks, their chats grew longer. He'd send little good morning videos, showing the gray Vancouver skyline from his balcony, or a steaming mug of coffee with the caption, "Wish you were here." He even learned a few Portuguese phrases to surprise her. His effort made her heart melt. Still, something didn't always add up. Sometimes, when Emma asked to see more of his apartment, the camera never moved beyond the same beige wall behind him. When she'd joke about him giving her a tour, Connor would laugh, then change the subject. And then came the jealousy, quiet at first, then sharper. One evening, Emma mentioned that her school colleagues were planning a Friday happy hour. Connor paused. "Are there men going too?" he asked lightly, but the tone under it felt heavy. "Of course," she laughed. "It's a staff thing." There was a silence. Then, softly, "I just hate the idea of other men around you. You're special to me." Emma hesitated. Was that sweet, or strange? She wasn't sure. Still, he apologized before she could reply. "I'm sorry. I'm being stupid. I just care about you, that's all." She let it go, because everything else felt so perfect. He remembered details she barely remembered telling him. When she mentioned a tough day at work, flowers arrived at the school, ordered from a local shop in her city. The note read, "Just a small reminder that someone 5,000 miles away believes in you." Her colleague swooned. Emma blushed. It all felt like a movie. Would these small red flags make you walk away, or give him another chance? Let me know below. But sometimes, even the best movies have quiet moments that don't fit the script. One night, during a video call, Connor's connection lagged for a second. The frame froze. Just long enough for Emma to notice a shadow moving behind him, almost human-shaped. When the screen cleared, the background was empty again. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," he smiled. "Just Benson, my dog." He heard something outside. Except Emma had never heard Benson bark. Not once. She laughed it off, but a strange chill stayed with her that night. Still, Connor always knew how to erase doubt with words. "I want you to see this place with your own eyes someday," he told her, his voice soft through the speaker. "The mountains. The air. The quiet. You'll fall in love with it, maybe even with me." Emma smiled, half embarrassed, half enchanted. "I'd love that." He leaned closer to the camera, his eyes narrowing as though picturing the moment already. "One day," he said slowly, almost whispering, "I'll show you the mountains I love the most, just you and me." The line sounded romantic then. But later, those same words would echo like a warning she never understood in time. By the third month, Emma's phone had become her lifeline. Every vibration, every soft notification tone, it was Connor. Their routine had become sacred, a "good morning" text before she left for work, a midday photo of his coffee mug or a mountain trail, and then long video calls that often stretched past midnight. He knew every corner of her apartment by now, the books on her shelf, the color of her curtains, even the chipped mug she always used. And Emma? She felt like she knew every piece of his soul. It was on one of those nights, after hours of laughter and confessions, that Connor leaned closer to the camera. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Emma," he said. "I've been thinking about us. About how real this feels, even across a screen." Her heart started to race. "I don't want to wait anymore," he continued. "I know what I want, and it's you." For a second, she thought he was joking. But then he reached off camera and came back holding something small, a silver ring glinting in the soft light. "I know it's crazy," he smiled, almost shyly. "But I don't care how far apart we are. Will you marry me, Emma Morrison?" The world froze. Emma pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. It was everything she dreamed of hearing, but not like this, not this soon. Tears blurred her vision as she nodded. I don't even know what to say." "Say yes," he whispered. "But bring your answer when you come to me." That last line lingered, soft, romantic, and strangely commanding. For the next few days, Emma floated through her world like a dream. Her co-workers noticed the glow. Claire, however, noticed something else. "Emma," she said over lunch, her tone careful. "You've known this man for what, 10 weeks?" "Almost 3 months," Emma corrected softly, smiling at her phone. "Exactly," Claire replied. "And he's proposing?" "Through a video call. You don't find that a bit too fast?" Emma looked down, stirring her coffee. "When you know, you just know." Claire sighed. "No, when you think you know, that's when you need to be most careful." But love has its own kind of gravity, and Emma was already falling. That night, Connor sent her flight details, travel tips, even a list of scenic places she had to see. He insisted he'd handle everything once she landed. "Just bring yourself," he said. "I'll take care of the rest." She spent nights packing, imagining the smell of pine trees, the cold air on her face, the moment she'd finally touch him, not through glass, but for real. Would you have trusted someone enough to fly across the world for love? Let me know in the comments below. On the morning of her flight, Sao Paulo's airport was buzzing, screens flashing destinations, luggage wheels rattling across the floor. Claire hugged her tightly, whispering one last plea. "Please text me the second you land. And if anything feels wrong, anything, come straight home." Emma promised. "Don't worry. Connor's a good man." As she stood in line for boarding, a middle-aged woman beside her struck up conversation. She was Canadian, heading home to British Columbia. They chatted lightly, about the weather, the long flight, Vancouver's beautiful mountains. Then the woman looked at her boarding pass, then at Emma's face, and said something that made her heartbeat falter. "You know, Vancouver's mountains are beautiful, but people vanish there all the time." Emma laughed awkwardly, but the woman didn't. She just looked at her for a moment, as if trying to say more, before quietly turning away. The boarding announcement echoed through the terminal. Emma grabbed her bag, forcing the chill down her spine, and walked toward the gate. Outside, through the wide glass windows, the rain began to fall, soft, steady, endless. It would be the last rain she'd ever see in Sao Paulo. The plane touched down in Vancouver just after 6:40 p.m. Emma pressed her forehead to the cool window as the city unfolded below, lights shimmering against the dark blue ocean, mountains crowned with mist. It was everything Connor had described, and yet, it felt unreal. After 15 hours in the air, she was finally here. Inside the arrivals hall, her heart pounded with every step. Dozens of faces, voices, reunions, and then she saw him. Connor. He stood near the rail, taller than she expected, holding a bouquet of yellow tulips, her favorite. He'd remembered. When their eyes met, his face broke into that same radiant smile she'd fallen for through a screen. "Emma," he said, voice warm, confident. For a second, the world blurred around her. She dropped her bag and hugged him tight. He smelled faintly of cedar and expensive cologne. "You came," he whispered. "You really came." "I told you I would," she smiled. "I missed you." He pulled back just enough to look at her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're even more beautiful in person." For the first few minutes, it felt like the perfect ending to a long-distance dream. He carried her suitcase effortlessly, opening doors, cracking jokes about airport security. Everything felt easy, until they reached the parking lot. The car waiting there wasn't what she'd imagined. A large black SUV, tinted windows, spotless, a little too pristine. Connor opened the passenger door for her with a polite smile. "Hop in, love. I'll get you to the hotel so you can rest." The way he said it, gentle, commanding, made her heart skip. As they drove through the city, she watched the skyline fade behind them. The traffic lights gave way to long, empty highways. Downtown Vancouver's bright energy disappeared into stretches of forest road. At first, she thought they were taking a scenic route. Then she realized it had been nearly an hour. "Connor?" she asked softly. "I think we passed the city center a while ago." "Yeah," he said casually. "My house is just outside the city. Much quieter. You'll love it." "Oh, I thought we were going to the hotel first." He smiled without looking away from the road. Change of plans. Something inside her tightened. "I canceled the reservation," he continued. "Didn't make sense for you to waste money when I've got a whole place to myself." "Connor, we talked about this. You said it was better I stayed in the hotel at first." He laughed lightly. "Come on, Emma. You really think I'd let the woman I love sleep in a hotel alone? It's ridiculous. You're staying with me. I won't take no for an answer." Emma forced a smile, trying to sound calm. "It's just. I don't want any immigration issues. You said that's why we booked the hotel." "Relax," he said, tone suddenly firmer. "I know what I'm doing." The silence that followed stretched like the dark road ahead. Emma turned her head toward the window. The city lights were gone now, replaced by towering pines and winding asphalt. Her phone buzzed in her bag. She pulled it out, pretending to check messages. A text from Claire. Landed yet? Send me the hotel name. Emma typed quickly. Landed safe. Connor's here. Small change, staying with him instead of the hotel. We'll text soon. Connor glanced sideways. Who are you texting? My friend Claire. Just letting her know I landed. He smiled again, but it didn't reach his eyes. Tell Claire she doesn't need to worry. You're safe with me. Then he reached over, gently taking her phone from her lap and setting it in the cup holder. No distractions, he said softly. Just us. Outside, the sky dimmed to a cold blue-gray. They passed fewer and fewer houses, then none at all. Emma's pulse began to rise. She tried to remember the turns, the landmarks, but every direction looked the same, dark trees, fog, and endless road. If you were in Emma's shoes, tired, nervous, in a new country, would you still go with him, or insist on staying in that hotel? Let me know below. After another 20 minutes, Connor finally slowed the car. The trees parted, revealing a sleek glass-and-wood house nestled against the slope of a mountain. No neighbors. No lights nearby. Just silence and mist. Connor parked, turned off the engine, and looked at her with a smile that seemed to hide something unspoken. Welcome home, he said quietly. Emma tried to return the smile, but her throat felt tight. The air outside was colder than she expected, sharp, still, almost too quiet. As Connor opened the trunk, she took one long look at the forest surrounding them, so beautiful, so isolating. She had dreamed of this moment for months. Now, standing there under the fading light, she felt something entirely different. A chill that crept through her bones, the first whisper that maybe, just maybe, she shouldn't have come. He grabbed her suitcase and led her toward the front door. Come on, love, he said cheerfully. We've got the mountains all to ourselves. The house was everything Connor had promised, and nothing Emma expected. From the outside, it looked like something out of an architecture magazine, clean lines, tall glass walls, pale wooden panels blending into the forest around it. But when she stepped inside, the air felt off. Too still. Too silent. Wow, she managed, setting her suitcase down. It's beautiful. Connor smiled proudly. Built it myself. Well, mostly. A few contractors here and there. But every detail, mine. Emma looked around. The place was immaculate. Minimalist furniture, all shades of gray and white. The faint smell of cedar polish. A massive window facing the mountains, breathtaking and eerie all at once. But something bothered her. There were no personal touches. No framed photos. No travel souvenirs. No family pictures. Just emptiness, perfectly arranged. You live here alone? She asked casually. Mostly, he said, walking to the kitchen. It's quiet. Peaceful. I like it that way. Emma followed, noticing how every sound, the click of her shoes, the hum of the fridge, seemed too loud. On the counter sat a sleek coffee machine and a small bowl of apples. Everything else was spotless. Where's Benson? She asked with a smile, remembering the golden retriever she'd seen in so many of his photos. Connor hesitated. It was only for a second, but she caught it. Oh, he's staying with my parents for a few days, he said smoothly. Didn't want him jumping on you when you just got off a long flight. I thought you'd want peace. Right, of course. She smiled politely, but in her gut, something shifted. The one thing that had made him seem real, the dog, wasn't there. That night, after dinner, Connor gave her a brief tour of the place. A master bedroom. A guest room, hers. A study lined with books, most of them untouched. Every window had a heavy latch. When she tried one, it didn't move. "Locked?" she asked. Connor turned, smiling faintly. "Yeah. Safety locks. We get bears here sometimes. One tried to get in through the kitchen window last winter." "Really?" she laughed nervously. "You'd be surprised what they're capable of." His tone was light, but his eyes didn't match. Later, in her guest room, Emma unpacked her bag while Connor lingered in the doorway. "Are you comfortable?" he asked. "Yes, thank you. It's lovely." "Good." He leaned against the doorframe. "If you need anything, my room's right next door. Don't be shy." "Got it." He smiled, that same practiced smile, then finally walked away. As the sound of his footsteps faded, Emma exhaled for the first time all evening. She tried opening the window again, just to feel the night air. It didn't budge. The silence outside pressed against the glass. Somewhere deep in the woods, a branch snapped. The next morning, sunlight filled the house, but the unease didn't fade. Connor was already awake, making pancakes, cheerful and chatty. "Good morning, love," he said. "I was going to let you sleep, but the view's too good to miss." He poured her coffee, smiling as if nothing in the world could be wrong. During breakfast, he told stories about engineering projects, hiking in Whistler, and how peaceful mountain life was. But every time Emma picked up her phone, he noticed. "You on your phone again?" he asked casually. "Just checking in with Claire." "Oh. I thought we agreed this week was about us." His tone was still soft, but there was something underneath it. Not anger. Not yet. Something closer to possession. Emma put the phone down. "You're right. Sorry." "Good girl," he said, smiling. Her stomach tightened. By afternoon, she tried connecting to the Wi-Fi again. No luck. The signal came and went. When it did connect, messages to Claire wouldn't send. The spinning icon on the screen felt like a quiet alarm. "Wi-Fi's weird here," Connor said when she asked. "It drops sometimes. Mountains mess with reception. And there's no cell signal either." "Exactly," he replied. "That's the beauty of it. No distractions. Just peace." She smiled weakly. Peace. That word again. That evening, after dinner, he poured them wine. The light from the fireplace flickered against the glass walls, reflecting the forest beyond. It should have felt romantic. Instead, it felt like a cage. Connor was charming, funny, almost perfect, until he wasn't. When she looked away during conversation, he asked why she seemed distracted. When she laughed at something on her phone, he wanted to know who texted. When she mentioned maybe going to see the city the next day, he said, "You just got here. Why rush to leave?" Hours later, when he finally went upstairs, Emma stayed behind. The silence pressed in again. Something about the place didn't add up. It looked lived in, but not really. Curiosity pulled her toward the study. Inside, she noticed a drawer slightly ajar in the desk. She hesitated, then slowly pulled it open. Inside were scattered papers, invoices, old envelopes, and one small photograph tucked beneath them. It showed Connor standing in front of the same house. His hair shorter, his smile identical. Beside him stood a woman, brunette, mid-30s, wearing a red scarf, her arm looped through his. On the back, a faint smudge of handwriting read, "Whistler, 2019, our first winter here." Emma froze. Her pulse thudded in her ears. He'd never mentioned another woman. Never. A floorboard creaked upstairs. She quickly shoved the photo back into the drawer and closed it quietly, her hands trembling. She went back to her room, turned off the lamp, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The silence outside was deafening, and somewhere in that darkness, she could almost swear she heard something moving, footsteps on gravel, faint, measured, stopping right beneath her window. Her breath caught. Then, nothing. Just the whisper of wind through the pines. Emma didn't sleep that night. In the morning, she would act like everything was normal. But she now knew one thing for sure, she wasn't the first woman in that house. The forest was quiet again. Too quiet. Emma hadn't slept much, every noise outside sounded like footsteps, every gust of wind like someone whispering her name. When morning came, Connor was already in the kitchen, acting as though nothing strange had happened the night before. "You okay?" he asked. "You look pale." "Didn't sleep much," she said. "Jet lag." He smiled, pouring her orange juice. "You'll adjust soon. I thought we could celebrate tonight, I bought champagne." He said it casually, but his tone carried a strange finality. Celebrate what, she wondered. Still, she smiled. Sure. Sounds nice. That evening, the sun disappeared early behind the mountains, and the forest swallowed the last of the light. Connor set the table with precision, steak, salad, candles. Romantic, and slightly staged. Every move he made felt too practiced, like he'd rehearsed it before. "To us," he said, raising his glass. Emma smiled faintly and took a sip. The bubbles stung her tongue, sharper than usual. Connor didn't drink his. He just watched her. "Aren't you going to have some?" she asked lightly. I wish." "Doctor's orders." "Antibiotics," he said. "You know how it is." He laughed it off, but when she leaned closer, she caught it, the faint chemical smell in his glass. Not alcohol. Something else. Her stomach twisted. "Antibiotics, huh?" she said softly. "Mind if I see which ones? I've been on some recently too." He froze for a moment, then chuckled. "You're funny. You really don't trust anyone, do you?" His tone was playful, but his eyes weren't. She laughed awkwardly and changed the subject, forcing a smile. But halfway through dinner, her head began to swim. At first, it felt like tiredness, the kind that comes after travel. But then, the room started to tilt slightly, her heart beat loud in her ears. "I think I need to lie down," she murmured. Connor stood instantly, helping her up. "Of course, you've had a long trip. You're safe here, Emma. Just rest." The words blurred together as he led her down the hallway. Her vision dimmed at the edges. The last thing she saw was his silhouette standing by the door, still, silent, watching. When she woke, daylight flooded her room. Her head pounded, her mouth dry. The clock said 10:46 a.m. She sat up slowly, the world spinning. Something felt off. Her suitcase was half open, clothes folded neatly, but not the way she folded them. Her passport lay on the dresser. Her phone, dead. The charger missing. "Connor," she called weakly. No answer. She tried standing but felt lightheaded again, gripping the bedpost for balance. The window was fogged with condensation, beyond it, the same endless wall of trees. On the nightstand was a note, written in his neat handwriting. "Went to the village for supplies. Rest, my love. You were out cold last night. I didn't want to wake you." Her skin crawled. She didn't remember going to bed. She didn't remember finishing dinner. She didn't even remember how she'd gotten upstairs. Hours passed. No sign of him. She tried to send a message to Claire again, "Please call police if you don't hear from me," but the text wouldn't send. The Wi-Fi flickered weakly, then cut out entirely. She walked through the house, her bare feet cold against the polished floor. Everything looked the same, except for one thing. Her phone, which she'd left charging in the guest room, now lay on the living room table, next to her wallet and makeup bag. It was as if someone had rearranged her life while she slept. When Connor returned, just before dusk, he was cheerful, too cheerful. He carried bags of groceries and a new bottle of wine. "You feeling better?" he asked, kissing her forehead. "A bit," she lied. "Did I faint last night?" "You were just exhausted," he said quickly. "Jet lag, champagne, altitude. It happens. I don't remember anything after dinner." He smiled softly. "That's good. Means you finally rested." But his hand lingered on her shoulder a little too long. And in that silence between words, Emma felt it again, the same quiet, suffocating wrongness. That night, she refused the wine. Said her stomach hurt. Connor only smiled and poured himself a glass. "Suit yourself," he said. She sat opposite him, pretending to read, pretending to be fine. But her thoughts ran wild. Did he drug me? Why would he go through my things? What was in that champagne? Her heart pounded as she thought of Claire. Of her last unsent message. If something happened to her here, nobody would even know where to look. The forest outside looked endless. The mountains, once beautiful, now felt like walls closing in. At this point, what would you do if you were Emma? Stay calm, play along, or make a run for it? That night, she double-checked the locks on her door before sleeping. But at dawn, when she woke, her door was slightly open. And her suitcase was half unpacked again. Only this time, her passport was gone. The next few days passed in a blur of routine that didn't feel like her own. Connor was always around, too much around. He cooked her meals, checked on her constantly, asked what she was doing, what she was thinking. Sometimes he'd vanish for hours, claiming to go into town for work meetings. But his car would return covered in mud, not city dust. At night, Emma would lie awake listening to the forest. And that's when she first heard it. A sound, faint, rhythmic, like a soft knock or whisper coming from below. At first, she told herself it was plumbing. Old houses make noises. But on the second night, it was unmistakable, a muffled cry. The next morning over breakfast, she gathered courage. "Connor," she said, stirring her tea. "Do you ever hear sounds from downstairs?" He froze mid-bite. "What kind of sounds?" "Like. I don't know. Voices. Or maybe the wind." He chuckled a little too quickly. "It's nothing. The basement's under renovation. The acoustics are weird." "Can I see it?" she asked, half joking. "No," he said instantly. Then, softening, "There's mold and tools everywhere. Dangerous. You'd hate it." His tone was kind, but his eyes had that flicker again, the warning one. Emma dropped it, but inside, her instincts screamed louder than her fear. That afternoon, while Connor showered upstairs, she noticed something new. A key, small, rusted, sitting on the mantel near the fireplace. She'd never seen it before. Her heart raced as she picked it up. It looked old, like it belonged to a door that wasn't meant to be opened. The basement door was at the far end of the hallway, half hidden behind a wooden bench stacked with blankets. Emma stared at it, listening. Silence. She slid the key in. It didn't fit. She cursed softly, nerves trembling. Then she remembered, Connor sometimes left tools in the drawer near the kitchen. She found a thin screwdriver. "Come on," she whispered, fumbling. The lock clicked. And the door creaked open. The air that came out was cold, colder than it should have been. And it smelled wrong. Not mold. Something metallic. Emma turned on her phone flashlight and stepped inside. The stairs groaned beneath her feet. The basement wasn't under renovation. It was empty. Concrete floor. Bare bulbs. No tools, no sawdust, nothing. Then, in the far corner, she saw it, a pile of things half covered by a tarp. She hesitated, her breath fogging in the air. Slowly, she pulled the tarp aside. A woman's scarf, dark red, frayed at the ends. A phone, screen shattered, still faintly glowing when she pressed the side button, wallpaper showing a smiling woman at a lake. And next to it, a Canadian driver's license. She wiped the dust off. Name, Emily Rhodes. Age, 29. City, Vancouver, British Columbia. Emma's hands shook so badly she dropped it. Her brain raced. Who was Emily Rhodes? Another girlfriend? A missing person? Why did he have her things? Her eyes darted to the shelves lining the wall, empty except for one small box. Inside were photos, women she didn't recognize, all smiling, all holding hands with Connor. Her stomach turned. This wasn't love. It was a pattern. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming down the stairs. Emma froze, the flashlight trembling in her grip. The beam hit the wall, and in its reflection, she saw a shadow growing larger. Connor, she whispered, her throat dry. He stepped into view, calm, silent, eyes unreadable. For a second, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the hum of the single light bulb above. Then his voice came, low and steady, colder than she'd ever heard it. You weren't supposed to see that. The air between them turned to ice. He took one slow step forward. You shouldn't have come down here, Emma. She backed away, pulse hammering. Who is she, Connor? What did you do? He smiled faintly, that same gentle smile she once found comforting. You're tired. Jet lag again. Stop. She shouted, holding up the phone. Who is Emily Rhodes? His eyes flicked to the license in her hand. And that's when Emma realized. He wasn't worried she'd found it. He was worried she hadn't found everything else. At this moment, if you were Emma, would you confront him, or play along until you could escape? Connor's hand reached toward the light switch. Let's not make this worse than it already is, he said softly. The bulb flickered once, and the basement went dark. The light snapped off. Emma's breath hitched in her throat. For a long second, the only sound in the basement was her pulse hammering in her ears. Then, click. The bulb flickered back on. Connor stood at the bottom of the stairs, his expression eerily calm. Emma, he said softly, you scared me. You shouldn't wander into places you don't understand. His tone wasn't angry. It was worse than that, composed, like a parent scolding a child. Emma tried to sound steady. I just heard something. I thought maybe an animal got in. There's no animal, he said flatly. Then, almost smiling, you probably heard the old pipes again. This house has character. He stepped closer. She could smell the faint scent of metal on his clothes. You look pale, he said, touching her cheek. Come upstairs. You need rest. Her mind screamed to run, but her body obeyed him. She followed. In the kitchen, he poured her water and watched her drink it. The way he looked at her, not lovingly, not even angrily, but like someone assessing compliance. You're thinking something, he said suddenly. Say it. I found a few things downstairs, she said carefully, keeping her voice calm. A scarf, an ID. Whose were they? Connor's jaw twitched. Then he smiled, an exhausted, broken kind of smile. Emily Rhodes, he said, almost whispering. My ex-fiancé. She left me. She couldn't handle my depression, my job, the isolation. She just disappeared. I never got closure. Emma's heart thudded. His words sounded rehearsed, too polished, too quick. I'm sorry, she murmured. Don't be, he said. You're not like her. You're stronger. That line hit her like a knife. When Connor went to shower, Emma's survival instincts kicked in. She rushed to her phone, switching it to offline mode. If Wi-Fi was compromised, maybe GPS could still cache her location. But when she opened the router cabinet to restart it, something caught her eye, a small blinking light. Hidden behind the modem was a tracking chip, taped to the router's side. Her stomach dropped. Connor wasn't just watching her. He was tracking every device she used. The bad Wi-Fi wasn't accidental, it was controlled. Emma pocketed her phone and stepped outside. The night air bit at her skin, cold and sharp. The forest loomed black and endless, the wind moving through the trees like whispers. She tried to load a map. No service. No offline GPS. Every tool she had depended on his network. Damn it, she whispered. Then she froze. The faint crunch of footsteps behind her. Couldn't sleep. Connor's voice. Calm. Right behind her. Emma forced a smile and turned. I just needed air. The view is incredible at night. He nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting the porch light. You'll love it even more in daylight. Tomorrow, I'm taking you up the mountain. A special place only locals know. Her chest tightened. That sounds wonderful. He smiled, genuine this time, which somehow made it worse. Good. It's where I take the people I care about most. That night, Emma lay in bed wide awake. The house was silent except for the wind and the faint creaks of settling wood. She kept replaying everything, the lies, the missing photos, Emily Rhodes' ID. Who else had he taken to that mountain? She tried to plan, maybe she could escape while they were on the trail. If she could reach a road, a car, anything. But another thought chilled her more. What if that special place wasn't meant for hiking? Just after midnight, Connor knocked on her door. Hey, he said softly. You okay? Yeah. Just nervous about tomorrow. He leaned against the frame, studying her face. You don't have to be scared, Emma. I'm taking you somewhere beautiful. She nodded, forcing her lips into a weak smile. Okay. Get some sleep. We leave early, he said, closing the door gently. The lock clicked from the outside. Emma's blood ran cold. She wasn't sure what scared her more, the sound of the lock, or how softly he turned it. If you were locked inside that house, would you scream for help or pretend to sleep until morning? At dawn, Connor stood by the car, camera slung around his neck, smiling. Ready? He asked. It's a long drive up the mountain. And that was when Emma realized, she didn't know if she'd ever come back down. The morning sky over Vancouver was a pale gray, the kind that promised rain but never delivered it. Connor packed everything with surgical precision, 2 bottles of water, protein bars, a blanket, a camera. You'll love this place, he said with a bright smile. It's where I go when I need peace. Peace. The word sounded almost wrong in his mouth. Emma forced a smile, her heart already pounding. How far is it? A couple of hours, he said. Up near Cypress Mountain. The view is worth it. He opened the SUV door, motioning her inside. She hesitated for a second, just a second, before getting in. As they drove, the city disappeared. The roads narrowed, the houses thinned, and the trees grew thicker, taller, older. Emma kept glancing at her phone. 1 bar of service. Then none. Connor hummed softly to the radio, an old folk song, the kind hikers play in documentaries right before something goes wrong. You're quiet today, he said suddenly. Just tired. He smiled. Don't be nervous. You're safe with me. The way he said it didn't sound like reassurance. It sounded like a verdict. The trail began where the road ended. A narrow dirt path snaked through towering pines, the forest floor damp with moss. Connor walked ahead, his backpack slung easily over one shoulder. "Not many people come up here," he said. "It's private. Peaceful." Every few minutes, he'd glance back, making sure she was still behind him. Emma's shoes slipped once on the wet ground. He turned sharply. "Careful," he said, grabbing her arm. His grip lingered too long. "I wouldn't want anything to happen to you." She forced a laugh. "You sound like my mom." "Maybe your mom's right to worry," he murmured, letting go. After almost an hour, the forest opened to a clearing. The air was thinner here, colder. She could see the faint outline of Vancouver's skyline far below, small and distant, like another world. Connor stopped near the edge of a cliff, where the earth dropped away into mist. "This," he said softly, "is my favorite place in the world." Emma caught her breath. The view was stunning, endless forests, silver clouds, the Pacific glinting faintly in the distance. But her eyes caught something else. A small wooden cross, weathered and rough, stood in the soil near the cliff edge. Her pulse spiked. "Connor, what's that?" He didn't answer. He crouched near it, brushing the dirt gently from its surface. Carved into the wood, faint but clear, were two words. "Emily Rhodes." Emma froze. "Connor, is that?" "Yes," he said quietly. She said no. Her stomach dropped. No to what? He turned slowly, and for the first time, the warmth in his face was gone. "To forever," he said simply. Emma took a step back, the earth crumbling slightly beneath her shoes. "Connor, please." "I asked her to stay," he continued, his tone soft, almost sorrowful. "She didn't want the life I built. She said I was controlling, obsessive. She wanted to leave." He smiled faintly. "But love doesn't leave. Not real love." Emma's chest tightened. "You killed her." He tilted his head. "I set her free." She stumbled backward another step. "You need help." "You." "Don't say that," he snapped, the first flicker of rage breaking through his calm. Then, quietly, "I thought you'd understand. You're not like her." He reached into his pocket and pulled something out, a small blue velvet box. "Say yes, Emma," he whispered. "Don't make me go through that pain again." Her voice trembled. "Connor, please. I just want to go home." "Home." He laughed, a dry, cracked sound. "You are home." She glanced behind him, the trail was narrow, the forest dense. If she ran, he'd catch her. If she fought, he was stronger. He opened the box. Inside wasn't a ring, it was Emily's engagement ring, dull with age. "It should have been hers," he said softly. "But it can be yours now. All you have to do is say yes." Tears filled Emma's eyes. "I can't." The smile fell from his face. For a moment, there was silence. Only wind. Then he whispered. "She said that too." He stepped closer. Emma backed away until her heel touched the edge of the cliff. Pebbles tumbled into the mist below. "Connor, please don't." "You love me," he said, almost pleading. "I know you do. So say it." She started, voice shaking, "I love you. I do." He paused, watching her. His eyes softened, but only for a second. "You're lying." Emma's mind raced. She had one chance. She took a shaky breath. "Connor, if you really love me, prove it. Let's take a picture. Right here. Together. So I'll remember this forever." He blinked, surprised, then smiled slowly. "That's beautiful." He lifted the camera from his neck, turned it on, and held it up for a selfie. As he leaned closer, Emma whispered, "I'm sorry." And she shoved him. The camera snapped. Connor stumbled backward, his arms flailing, a look of shock frozen on his face as he slipped over the edge. The sound of his body disappearing into the trees below echoed like a scream swallowed by the wind. Emma dropped to her knees, gasping, the cold air burning her lungs. The camera lay beside her, screen cracked, still flashing the image it had captured. Connor's smiling face beside hers, seconds before he fell. She staggered to her feet, clutching the device like a lifeline, and began running down the trail, sobbing, slipping, stumbling, until the forest swallowed her cries. Behind her, the small cross with Emily Rhodes swayed gently in the wind. If you were Emma, would you have done the same, or tried to talk him down? Tell me what you would have done. The forest was silent when the search began. For 3 days, helicopters circled the Vancouver mountains. Local hikers reported hearing a woman's scream echoing down the valley, but by the time authorities arrived, there was nothing left to find. No footprints. No backpack. No body. Only a shattered camera, half buried in the mud. 2 days later, a fisherman along the Capilano River pulled something from the water, a cracked phone, waterlogged and caked with dirt. When investigators opened it, they saw a message half-typed, never sent. It was addressed to Claire. Just one word. Help. Time-stamped, 8:14 p.m., the same night Emma vanished. Detective Lisa Morin took the report. The story sounded all too familiar, a missing woman, a charming man she met online, a promise of love that turned to silence. Connor Mloud, the detective murmured, scrolling through the dating app screenshots retrieved from Emma's email. Same profile. Same bio. Same pattern. Charming, cultured, loves hiking and old books. But now his account was gone, deleted hours after Emma's phone stopped sending signals. They traced his license plate to a remote cabin deep in the North Shore Mountains. When police arrived, the house was abandoned. Inside, there were no personal photos. No clothes. No fingerprints. But in one drawer, they found something chilling, a box of old IDs, all belonging to different women, each one missing. Among them, Emily Rhodes. And now, Emma Carter. Back in Toronto, Claire sat at her kitchen table, clutching her phone. Every few minutes, she opened her messages, staring at that last unsent word, help. Her eyes were hollow. She hadn't slept in days. She pressed play on the last voice note Connor ever sent Emma, his voice warm, smooth, careful. You make me feel alive again, he'd said. When we're together, nothing can come between us. Claire slammed the phone down, trembling. You killed her, she whispered. You killed my friend. A week later, the news broke. Vancouver police investigate series of missing women linked to online dating app. Connor Mloud, or whatever his real name was, had vanished completely. His car was found abandoned near the border, but there was no trace of him crossing. Some said he fled into the mountains. Others believed he never left them. In the final scene, a forest camera, one used for tracking wildlife, captures a faint figure moving through the trees at dawn. He's tall. Calm. Carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers. He stops at a familiar cliffside. Kneels. Places the flowers at the foot of a wooden cross. The camera zooms in just enough to read the name carved into the wood, Emily Rhodes, before a new one comes into view, scratched below it in fresh marks. Emma Carter. The wind howls. The figure looks up toward the camera, just briefly, his face pale, unreadable, then turns and disappears into the fog. If you were Emma, would you have seen the signs earlier? And how well do you really know someone you meet online? Stay safe, and if you enjoy real stories like this, make sure you're subscribed. You never know whose story could be next.